All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode on the series. Last week, we got talking about when you're no longer fitting a mold. And this week, we're going to segment into talking about blocks. So normally when we're stepping out of a way of being that we were before, and we step into new ways of being and new possibilities into our future, right? Into our future, some things are going to come up, right? There's going to be fears, there's going to be worries, there's going to be stressors that are going to come up, and those we usually know them as blocks. And this is what this episode is going to focus all around: blocks. Once again, my name is Wendy, and I am a creator and a transformational coach. And today I have Ariel.
Yes. So happy to be here again. Excited for this episode. My name's Ariel. I'm an online holistic fitness coach, content creator, entrepreneur, all the things. But really, I'm excited to have deeper talks and conversations and just be here with you guys today. And to dig in.
Yes, we get to dig in today. Thank you again for being here, Ariel, and for being such a vessel, right? I love that you're here, you're inspiring, and you're helping transform lives.
Thank you. I'm honored, and ditto. I'm happy to be in good company here, meeting with you and also the audience. I know whoever listens to these videos and is in on this series is of good company too. So I'm excited for the collective that we have here.
Yes. Thank you guys for being here. So without further delay, let's get started. Let's dig in.
Let's do it.
We shared our stories last week, and for you it was stepping out of that mold, right? Where you were no longer fitting a certain mold and you were stepping into a new possibility, right? And a lot of things came up for you. Can you share a little bit more about what during that process, what began to come up for you, like when you were changing and stepping into this more aligned person, into this more aligned. Excuse me, my nose is congested, you guys, so please bear with me. I'm like, going back, rewinding, and just when you were stepping more into this aligned way of being, what came up for you? Like, what was coming up for you?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. So one, thank you for bringing me back to the story, because that really helped to put in context in my head where we left off. So for me, I think, there's several, like a bunch of blocks, right? But I think the biggest ones for me that were coming up was, really challenging my stories and my narrative about myself, and rethinking the way that I saw and defined who I was, which really, it took a lot of, how could I say this? Like dismantling of the stories that I had about me and the way I was. Mm. So there was, things of self-sabotage was a block, inner critic, self-doubt, limiting beliefs were probably like my biggest blocks that came up. And this, it can show up for people all differently, but for me, I think it was just the stories and the thoughts that I would have as I was sort of experimenting with stepping out. There would be a story that would say, nobody takes you seriously.
Oh.
I need to be the fun friend. I can't just go in public and not, be doing X, Y, and Z. Otherwise people won't like me. No one cares what I have to say. Right? So like, these are some of the like thoughts and the phrases that would come up a lot, and that I had to build some awareness around in order to start questioning them.
Wow. Okay. So there was like a lot of thoughts that would permeate your mind as you were stepping into this new, more aligned way of being. That was like, oh, gosh, like, where is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, why am I feeling this way? Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why
Thought,
are these blocks coming up?
yeah. And the thoughts would drive my actions, right? Or they would drive how I would behave, because I would have the thought and then I would doubt myself, right? So I would take a step back and like maybe not do what I was going to do. Or it would drive me to do some of those behaviors and toxic patterns, because I was like, oh, I'm so nervous to like be in a social setting when no one likes me, so let me drink, and things like that. So, yes, there's the thoughts, but then those are what kind of either perpetuated or helped me to take dominion over the behaviors that I didn't want anymore, or was trying to shift, I should say. So,
yeah. So take us to, if you don't mind sharing, take us to that moment. So you had this, like, if you will, awakening, and
Right.
where did you want to move towards? Like, what was in your heart that was calling you to what direction were you being called to?
Yeah. It's so it's so crazy I tried so hard during the process to document and try to like take a description of what was going on. So I'm going to do my best. But
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
What was I moving towards was the question. I was moving towards wanting to feel fulfilled and in purpose with what I was put here to do. I don't know if you feel this way. I feel like everyone has a beautiful purpose and calling in this world, and we have the amazing opportunity to be able to share it and be of service and live in our alignment and fullness. And so I knew that exists for me. I always felt that, right? I always felt that existed, but I just didn't know what it looked like. And I really didn't. And to be honest, there wasn't like a specific thing at the time. I think at first it was just about taking some action so that I could form more of that clarity. And so, I think I talked about making that big move from Jersey to Florida. And that was like my first big like momentum pivotal step that put me in action, to be in spaces that allowed me to get more clarity. And so to be honest, I didn't know what I was stepping into. I just knew that I wanted it to be better than where I was.
Yeah.
And so I followed that. I'm curious, because I'm only thinking of this as I'm trying to describe it. Did you have more clarity when you felt like you were stepping in, or do you resonate with this, or where were you at with yours?
Yeah. As you're speaking, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally resonate with her. Because for me, it was the same thing after I had my son, right? So I shared with you guys that I was in this place of like, what is wrong with me? Like, I felt like everything that I had planned for my life didn't work out. It was a total chaos, a total mess. And I felt like such a failure. And I felt like, what's the point? What's the point of all of this? What's the point of me moving forward? Like, I didn't find that there was a point. I didn't feel like I had a purpose. And what I started to do was realize that there was something in my thinking that was not aligning with who I wanted to be. So I was like, something's off. I'm creating a certain reality. Because at this point, like, I was at that point where I knew that I was co-creating. Like, I had some co-creation in this matter. Sure, there's certain things that I couldn't control, but there was a role that I played, right? And it was me coming to that awareness of like, okay, there's a role that I played here in my life, and I'm gonna figure out what it is, right? So for me, it started with, let me figure out what's going on in here. What's going in my mind? What am I thinking that's contributing to my reality, right? So I wanted to shift and create new thoughts. And for me, what that looked like was, as we had mentioned in the previous episode, listening to books and also reading them. listening to podcasts, surrounding myself by empowering communities, grabbing onto a mentor coach. And it really helped in shifting my thought process. So that's how it began for me. And when I was doing that, when I was shifting my thought process, a lot of things came up for me. One is like, this is BS.
Yeah.
Like, this is BS. I don't totally believe that. Like, I don't know. So like a lot of doubts, a lot of like, I don't know if I can change.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if I can change. And what was pulling me was this call of like, I need to help people. I need to help people. I didn't know what that looked like, but at that moment, I knew that I needed to help myself. I needed to help myself, and it was hard. It was hard because I don't think anybody gives you a blueprint for life.
Yeah.
I don't, or maybe there is, but I don't really think there's a blueprint that is given to you once you turn 18 and say, here's how to do life, right? So I think you're figuring it out as you go. But I knew that there was some, my foundation was wobbly.
Right.
I knew that my foundation was wobbly, and I knew that I needed to strengthen my foundation. And again, like just how you share, like I felt this calling, this pulling forward, but I didn't know what it was. I just knew that I wanted to help. And I was like, but in that help, in wanting to help, knowing that I want to help, who do I have to help first? And I was like, that's myself. So let's figure this out, Wendy. Let's figure out what's going on in here, with all of you.
No, yeah, amazing point, because it does. You have to start from within. You have to start with you before really being able to step in whatever your calling or purpose is. And same for me in that, my approach towards starting to shift was from mindset, right? Starting with my mindset. And even at the time, though, I didn't really like have concepts or a framework for it. It's essentially what I was doing. And just like you, listening to certain podcasts and reading these books, for me, it wasn't, because I think self-help and personal development books get such a bad rap for whatever reason. But the biggest thing for me about those books and podcasts was that it gave me, one, mentors. Like, even though I never actually met them, I could relate to them, right? And so if there was someone I, read a book about or listened to a podcast episode, and I was like, wow, I see myself in that person, I resonate with their story, it started to turn that light bulb, flip the switch of, okay, they did it, I can do it, right? It started to close that gap of like, this is me all the way over here, with all my crap, all my bullshit, and this is this amazing person. It started to close the space and be like, oh wait, we're actually very similar in certain ways. So if they did it, I can do it too. And so having storytelling, I think I said this in the last episode too, why I think storytelling is so important. And even in us having this conversation and doing this series, is sharing stories is what unites us. It, brings in, humanity, humility, and allows you to see what's possible and cultivate that optimism and self-belief. And so, that was a huge part of my process as well.
Yeah, I want to latch on to what you said, that whole story, sharing stories. I think it's so important that we emphasize this, because it is through storytelling, it is through relating through others, through creating communities, that you see that we're all going through the same things. We all have similar experiences, and that we're not alone. Like, we're all together in this human experience. And I think once we start to really see ourselves in each other, like we're able to gather that strength that's within us, because when we can see it in others, we can begin to recognize it in ourselves. And it is through storytelling and through sharing our stories that that we allow for not only others to see it, but for us to see it. Like us to see our own power and the power of others. So like we all have that inner strength, that inner power. And I think it's important to tap into that, especially when you're moving towards this new possibility, new life that you want to create, right?
Totally.
So
Totally. And it's just like you said, realizing that other people have these stories or the thoughts and the self-doubt, all the things, just kind of gives you that perspective that there is a way through it. And so I'm actually curious, Wendy, what were some of your like reoccurring narratives or stories, or like phrases of self-doubt, one, and then also what did you do to either become aware of them or to start to flip the narrative for you?
Yeah. So the common ones that were coming up for me. So when I was in that process of really working on myself and moving into this new way of being, right? Into this new, more loving, kinder, accepting all from who I was, which was this very judgmental, negative, very harsh person. Very like, we gotta make it happen.
Can I just pause for 2 seconds? Because this is what's crazy to me is I would never think that you were like that. But that's just shows, and again, why sharing these stories, because seeing you now, I would never describe you as negative, like any of those things.
Yeah.
So showing like it's complete contrast. So anyways, sorry to
no, not at all. I love it. It's a testament to the work, because although I won't say that I don't have those moments, because right. I think when we're raised or conditioned a certain way, like obviously those patterns follow us, and I think it takes work to become a more evolved version of yourself. But I do feel like they do come up, right? And I'm not
just ongoing practice. It's ongoing. It's not like, hey, totally.
Yeah. But the tools that are present now in my life really helped me navigate. So like just rewinding back and going back to, yes, I was very negative. I was very harsh. I barely empathized with myself and with people. I was kind. I led a pretty decent life. I mean, if I saw you in the street, I'd be kind of like, hey, how's it going? But in my, like, if you like say we had a misunderstanding, I'd be like, you know what? I'm done with her. Like, I'm not, like, I'm done. So, or I would have like, I would just close myself off. Like I was very closed, closed in my heart. Right? Yeah. I felt like I needed to protect myself. So as I was moving into this more empathetic, more kind, more loving, more accepting, more like, let me understand people. Let me understand myself. Let me show up in this way. A lot of things were coming up. I think one of the main things was, I can't figure this out, and I'm not good enough to be this person. I'm not like good enough. Like something is wrong with me, as we had mentioned previously. Something is wrong with me, and I'm so mad at myself for having something be wrong with me. Like, sheesh, like why can't I figure this out? So it was that harsh critical voice, but like feeling that I wasn't worthy of change, feeling that I wasn't worthy of transformation, feeling that I was destined for misfortune, that I was destined for really self-sabotaging beliefs. Yeah. Now I'm curious, was it the same for you as you were moving into your new way of being? Like, was it similar, or what came up for you?
Yeah, a lot of the worth stuff is huge. You're not good enough. Who do you think you are was a big one. Because for me, a few things was, especially because I always knew I wanted to have my own business. I always wanted to be my own boss. Like that was just like, I didn't know what type of business, nothing, but I knew that was something that I wanted. And as I started experimenting and stepping in and thinking, oh, I need to go on social media, I had never had social media before. Like I was off the grid type person, didn't have anything. Like you couldn't find me. I didn't want to be found. Right? I had a big thing of not wanting to be seen so that I couldn't be judged and all the things. And so one thing that came up was, like who do I think I am to be posting on? Who cares? Like who really cares about what you have to say? No one takes you seriously. You are not good enough. Who do you think you are, Ariel? Like, look at your past. Look at all the things you've done. And really letting my past pain project fear into my future, which I know you're very familiar with that phrase. But that is something I can be very transparent about now. It's like, that is something that still comes up for me. But just like you said, I have the tools and I have the practices in place to help me navigate it more gracefully. I can see it more. I can more easily rise above it, rather than initially it would weigh me down. Heavy, and it was more of a fight to get myself to the place to take the action steps I needed to, again, bring about this transformation and change that I wanted to make. So
I love what you said. You said any past pain is projected onto future fear, right? Like it's this thing, this weight that cripples you, that grabs onto you and doesn't let you move forward. And it's so interesting how that can come up as blocks, right? Like this, you're not good enough. Who do you think you are? Who cares? Like you're not worthy of change. And I think it's such a, I want to stress that it's important that we do the work to clear that pain, because that pain, it's what's going to hold you back from what you want to create. I know that for me, and for many others that I've spoken to, that has been the case. Like all that pain projects into future fear and it blocks you from creating what you want to create. For me, it was creating a channel, using my voice to share stories, to share experiences. It was really hard at the beginning because I had so much pain that I was holding on to.
Right. So what were some of the things I can share? Maybe I'll share first some of the things that I started to do, and then you jump into like what are some things you did as well, because these are like legit. This is exactly what I did. I'm gonna lay it out for you right here. This is what it looked like, and again, I think this is one of those moments where there does come a certain level of taking ownership and responsibility at a certain point, because nothing changes if nothing changes, right? So when people, I'm going to share some things, but it's the application. It's not just hearing it. It's in starting to figure out like what can work for me. How can I apply this in my life? And just being willing to experiment, right? Like you don't even have to believe anything we say here, but just like if it opens your eyes to new insights, just be like, hey, let's see if I try this for X amount of days, right? Like do a little challenge with yourself. If I try this for X amount of days, let's just see what happens, right? Let's see if I feel better. Let's see if I take more action. Let's see if, whatever it may be. So one of the things that I started to, I told you about podcasts, but this is the thing. It's finding certain podcasts and voices and stories that, again, start, I think it was, I didn't realize it, but it was flooding my subconscious with, it was rewiring, right? Like I would just have it on always in the car, right? If I was driving anywhere, going on a walk, on the treadmill, at the gym. And it's not like I was always intensely listening, but I was having that positive messaging being consistently repeated, right? Repetition. You can do it. You are worthy. All the things like that messaging, especially if you have a strong inner critic or negative narrative about yourself and your life, it's super supportive to start flooding yourself with these new stories. Because even if at first it doesn't feel like it's making a difference, it's changing your pathways. So that was one. And another one was starting with the small habits, like really, really small. And I'll just share one book that was really transformational for me because it was about habits and it was about taking ownership of the tone of my day. So really like getting into my morning routine is a staple in everything I do up until this day today. And it's he has two books, Miracle Morning and The Miracle Equation by Hal Elrod. And those books were huge for me because, again, it was starting to get into those small habits of setting the tone for my day and all of those things that helped me to take dominion over, again, negative thoughts, all the things. And then the last one I'll share is plugging into certain communities and being around like-minded people that inspired me or motivated me, or just you see they're trying to do similar things. And so for me, that was, in the gym community, I joined a gym, right? And I wasn't a fitness coach at the time, but I joined a gym. I fell in love with the community there, the people who are all, just really into their health and fitness and just very dedicated, really spoke to me. And that is how my sort of transition into even the fitness industry started, was just joining that community as a participant.
Yeah.
So, those are my three things. I'm curious, Wendy, any of those similar or anything additional?
Yeah, pretty similar to yours as well. So for me, it started with, again, flooding my subconscious. I became obsessed. Some of my favorite ones were Jay Shetty and Tony Robbins. So I really love the way they delivered wisdom. And I ate it up. Like I bought some courses, and I would just play them. And every time, I had the podcast or the courses playing in the background, I would literally stop and write whatever it is that made me have an aha moment. Like, like Tony Robbins would say, change your blueprint, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a blueprint for my life that I've been operating out of. Like, yes. One was just being open-minded. I think that's huge because you have to be open to receiving different ideas than the ones that you're accustomed to, and just exploring them. And if some resonate, taking them in, and if they don't resonate, let them go, right? But allowing yourself to receive new ideas from what you're accustomed to. So that was one, right? And then number two was, aside from that, books. I got obsessed with books, and I have a few. I don't have some at the top of my mind that are coming up, but I definitely wanted to understand what was going on in my mind, right? So understanding the brain, understanding, diving more into spirituality, just like acknowledging that I had a spirit within, right? That there's something deeper than my physical body. There's something deeper than my physical body, and that I didn't know it all, right? So like really surrendering to that idea that there's something beyond me, and I needed to understand the beyond me aspect. So my spirit. Yeah. What does my spirit want? What is my spirit wanting to express? And allowing that part of myself to come out by uncovering everything That wasn't a part of me. So I know I kind of segued into books to that. But I think if we kind of grounded, number 2 was that, like, allowing, like, recognizing that there was a spirit within me, right? So that's number 2. And number 3 was following whatever my spirit wanted to express. So at first it just started with the fitness community. So I did begin there. But then I realized that what I wanted to understand was, yes, the transformational within the physical body, but also the transformational aspect of the mind, the heart, right? And I think that's how my mind progressed, right? So it was that, number 1, which was flooding my subconscious, recognizing that I had a spirit, and plugging into communities. So once I got from the fitness community, I started to go into more of the transformational community, like really just acknowledging what it means to transform completely, right? So I think for me that was the segue, that was the journey. And now, like, I love just empowering people and having them understand that whatever wants to express from them, like, let it express. It's wanting to express for a reason. And just like you said, we're all here for a purpose. I truly believe that. I truly believe that there's something within everybody that's wanting to express, and it is our duty to allow that expression to flow and come out. And it doesn't mean that blocks are not going to come up. You want to follow that calling, right? That expression. When those blocks come up, like, it's absolutely normal. And that's what I want to emphasize. Normal.
I'm so glad you said that, and really kind of just, like, grounded even why we're, like, sharing this is because, just like you said, it's normal. Like, everyone experiences this. Your task is to just get better at navigating it, and that's really it. Getting more skillful, getting more self-awareness, spiritual understanding, all of the things, the way you operate, the way you respond. Like, the better you get at that, the more curious you get, the more you're willing to experiment, the more masterful you get at navigating it, and they don't take you out as much, right? And they don't have as much weight or bearing on you and your goals, right? You're able to move through it. So I love that you said that, and just grounded it for us.
I love that we're on this topic, because just coming onto, like, what you shared, that, you know, we learn how to move through them, right? We learn how to navigate them. But I think something that's been coming up for both of us has been the whole concept of accepting that whole human experience, and even the blocks, like, welcoming them, like, oh, there it is. Right? Because I think life really invites us to accept who we are, because when we don't accept who we are completely, with all the blocks, with everything that comes up, we're rejecting different parts of ourselves.
Right.
So we're not essentially feeling whole and complete, because there's parts of us that we're rejecting, like, oh, this part, like the one that doesn't feel good enough, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to deal with it, like, go away. And we try to push through, right? And there's so much push through that we can do before we completely burn out. And
I was going to say that you can only push so far, and then it takes you out, right? Just like you said, then you burn out. And so I think really upgrading and taking it to that next level, and something we've have been experiencing and practicing more, is that element too, is sort of like going from this place of rejection, judgment, even, I can speak for myself, some shame around some of my blocks, shifting that relationship to really, like, turn up the notch, accept in wholeness, fullness, and take it to that next level of the evolution. So because just as nature is constantly evolving, right? You see evolutioning. There I go.
evolution happening in trees and plants and animals. Us too, as humans, we're part of this earth. Our physical body is part of this earth, and we're constantly being invited to evolve. So it's like, just like what you said, upgrading our system so that we're constantly being as effective as possible. And I think it starts with really accepting all of us, like all of ourselves, like all of ourselves. I'm like butchering up my grammar, but like really accepting ourselves as a whole. Everything that comes with the human experience, and knowing that those blocks are normal, they come up, and we don't need to make stories around them, right? Because I think that's when we begin to suffer and really, just really suffer because of the stories that we make around them. Oh, well, there's this critical voice, and we believe this critical voice of that's coming up for us is telling us, no, we can't do it. Okay, fine, I can't do it. Right? Versus like we could
it's questioning. Right. It's the difference of questioning the thought, right, or believing it and buying into it. And the more you can create that space of like, okay, if I can observe my thoughts, I'm the observer of my thoughts. If I can observe it, then it's not me, right? It instantly creates that space. So then you realize, it's just a thought, and you can actually choose yes or no. This serves me. This feels true for me. Or no, this doesn't serve me. This actually doesn't feel true for me anymore. And being able to create that space and just say no. And one thing I wanted to make sure that I brought up, because you said this so amazingly in our off-camera convo, was a big thing for you was about feeling safe to step into change. And that was a quote something you said, and I was like, that is just so accurate. It's like being able to change feels scary, right? It's, unknown, it's different. Your mind responds to it as unsafe or a threat. And so it's about creating that safety and familiarity with this unknown, becoming comfortable in the uncomfortable. And the better you are at creating internal safety as you step into this newness and these new layers, that just allows you to keep moving forward instead of allowing it to kind of take you out of the game and shrink you back. You've created that safety within yourself, so you can step forward. So
you brought up a good point. Just creating that safety. And I think if we kind of just take a look at what we talked about today, you shared that you have a morning routine. Do you find that creates your safety? Like, it creates your safety for the day so that you can go about your day and explore all these different possibilities and all these new ways of being.
Wendy, yes, exactly. For me, creating that safety was in my morning routine and being very disciplined. And I think discipline is one of those words that gets a bad rap, where people are like, discipline, I feel restricted, I feel, confined. But for me, discipline is what gives me freedom, like truly, because it's in the discipline of my morning routine of, doing these certain things that I get to experience freedom in life, right? It's, I don't know, in my creativity, in my entrepreneurship, in my service. So going back to, having somewhat of a routine that just helps to cultivate that safety within and be more of an observer of my mind that is how I ground that safety for sure. Is there anything you do to
similar to you? I have a morning routine, and my morning routine is adaptable at times, just depending if my son wakes up or I am a mother too, so I give myself grace, but what I do focus on is creating a morning routine as well so that I can function. And I think the biggest thing is and create that safety, because safety is important to me as well. But I think when I have that moment to just be with myself, because to me what my safety and my morning routine look like is in the morning, I take time to just be with myself. I just want to be with me. Because then throughout the day, then I have to be with everybody else. And I check in and see what does me need right now. What is me going to need so that I can show up and function and be of service and be there for people. Like, what does me need? What does me need? It sounds funny, but that's what I do. And I take that moment to just be with myself, ground myself, and create that safety. So yes, it looks similar to yours, creating a morning routine. And I know that it's hard. Well, it was hard for me.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like, morning routine, it's such a mainstream word right now.
Yeah.
But like, it's just, it could be making your cup of coffee or tea in the morning. And like, for me, like, I love making my coffee. And so sometimes I don't get to do all of the things in my morning routine, but I know, like, the whole ritual of making my coffee, putting all the things in it, you know, the house is quiet. I take that time to be very mindful while I make the tea or make the coffee. And that is a form of morning routine for me. It's just that.
Yeah.
So if I would say, like, if someone's struggling, like, even saying, you know, my house maybe is chaos in the morning, like, I have kids, I have all these things happening, even just looking for one thing you already do. Maybe it's brushing your teeth, like, right? We all brush our teeth, I think.
Yeah. You think, right? You think, yeah.
And being mindful while you brush your teeth.
Right? No judgment though if you don't brush your teeth. Just want to throw it out there.
And right, and or, you know, like, being mindful while you brush your teeth, and maybe repeating one affirmation that you need to hear, or thinking of what energy do I want to bring to today, and just repeating that. Right, that could be a morning ritual. It doesn't have to be, you know, the 7 steps and all the things. It can be so simple, and it can really work for you. Yeah, I really just wanted to share that part. And a little just story even today that's super fresh was I had a busy weekend this weekend, unexpectedly. I was out of my normal routine. You know, I was, you know, doing things I don't normally do, out celebrating, things like that. And initially when I woke up this morning, I felt a little discombobulated, right? Like, I just felt not me. And I kind of just pushed myself to, I didn't even push myself. I just fell into my routine. I was like, Ariel, just start doing what you normally do. And as soon as I started doing those motions, I started coming back to myself. And I created that safety, and then the rest of my day flowed as normal. But if you were in my brain this morning, you would have been like, you could have had a completely different day. Because I was like, it was all the things came up for me. And so just sharing that as, like, this is stuff that is a practice and still can show up. But again, I have the foundation to get myself out of it now. So it doesn't take my whole day away, right? It's the first 5 minutes in the morning. I know what to do, go into your routine. And then I just, you know, it flows out from there. So, yeah.
I love that you shared that. You know, it's just like taking a moment, resetting, and going back to what you normally do. It's like, it takes practice, but we can all get there. And it can start off with just brushing your teeth, right?
Yeah.
A simple step, one simple action, creating your coffee, making your tea, going out for a walk, taking some time to just dance.
Yeah.
Whatever feels most aligned for you, for your lifestyle, for your way of being, is what you get to do, right? So there's no one size fits all, but just knowing that you get to choose to create that safety for yourself so that you can best operate in the world.
Yeah. I love that. I love the choice, the highlight of what we get to choose to do today. So I love that. Yeah.
I love that we talk about just bringing awareness around what comes up for us when we start shifting into change, right? And it could be really scary. And I love that we got to share our stories, but also share what helped us navigate that, right? And creating that safety so that we can more easily and more graciously transition into change.
Yes, I love that we had the opportunity to just be really candid, right? And very raw, and share some of our very human experiences to hopefully normalize some of those blocks and some of the just bullshit that comes up as you're upgrading, up leveling into these new ways of being. And we touched on briefly about the idea of shifting our relationship with the blocks. But I know in our next episode, we're going to dig in a little bit deeper to that, if I'm correct.
Yes. Okay. So in our next episode, we're actually going to be diving. So bring your goggles, bring your safety mask. Just kidding. But anywho, we're going to dive in deeper into shifting our relationship with those blocks, right? And really just allowing ourselves to become passionate and self-forgiving when those blocks do come up. So we're going to dive in deeper. I'm excited. Thank you again, everybody, for just being here and really just taking a moment out of your day and just time to sit down and chat with Ariel and I really love doing these, and I really love that you guys get to come along this journey and that we're a part of your journey, that you're taking the time to just really hear the message, right? So yes, I'm very happy.
Yes, I'm excited too. And you guys, this next episode is going to be the juice, okay? Like the real juice, because I think what we're going to be maybe talking about and presenting is probably, I just saw what you did.
Yeah, like the juice.
I'm thirsty, okay? I'm thirsty.
Yes.
Delivering the juice. But in all seriousness, it's going to be a lot different approach than I think what a lot of us are usually exposed to in specifically our culture. But I think, we'll see. But I think for a lot of people, we're very much taught to approach blocks and things like this in a certain way. And we're going to talk about a different way, right? And again, it's all about that experimentation and try it on, right? See if it works for you and it helps you navigate it better. But yeah, you're gonna wanna tune in for that next one. So
come in with an open mind. Yes, and bring your beautiful self.
Yeah, super excited. In the meantime, make sure you like and subscribe to both of our channels. We will link in the description box. We are on Instagram. We'll put all of our handles and contact info in there. And tune in next week for our final episode in this series. So blessed to have you guys here. Share with a friend if you found, anything in this valuable, and comment some of your blocks or anything in maybe our stories or something that we shared that you resonate with. Let's have a really supportive comment box community, right? This is all about leaning into, again, those communities and like-minded people. So let's cultivate that in the comment box. Why not? I'm with it.
Yes, let's do it. Again, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Ariel, thank you. You're such a lovely, lovely woman to have a conversation with. And I just want to emphasize that. Everybody, show her some love.
You too, girl. I always enjoy this. So.
All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye.